Rig 500 series of headsets from Plantronics.
More can I take? How long before I break? You got me feeling.
I'm much looking forward to what should be a really chaotic matchup. MVP versus 4CL. We've got a team in 4CL that kind of feast or famine, very unforgiving play style, individual flashy plays. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Seemed to work out in the group stage. MVP, on the other hand, very roam heavy. So kind of two clashes of styles there.
Yeah, but the teams are going to bring a lot of action for sure, because no one is going to play a very, like both the teams, they don't really play passive. They are always going to look to fight. And early game is going to be very crucial, because I think Bane, Lich, all these heroes that will determine the laning phase are going to be hotly contested, especially by 4CL. MVP, obviously, their better heroes will be heroes that face Rush, TA, Spirit Breaker. All these heroes are the heroes that they are very comfortable with.
All right, I see you guys are getting already into the matchup, but let me tell the viewers at home, today we got possibly 4 best-of-3 series. We're going to play 3 of them for sure, starting with MVP Phoenix versus 4CL, like you guys are mentioning, followed by Empire versus Vega. And after that, I believe we'll have the loser of the 2 matches facing up against each other. And depending on time, we'll get the last match. We don't know. But I think later on, we're going to get some individual interview with the players from MVP Phoenix as well as Team 4CL. And I think that will be a good time to start talking about the teams and what they're going to be doing. Let's talk a little bit about the tournament so far. We were casting the group stages. How do you guys feel the teams perform overall? We lost NLG and we lost
Complexity.
Dude. No, I got it. I was going there.
NA Dota, best Dota, RIP. It feels like the 4 teams that did make it through on paper were somewhat expected to, and it feels like they're very even at this point. So I feel like this tournament completely up for grabs.
Yeah, but both of the teams, even though they didn't qualify, we saw some games, they showed some glimmer of hope that they actually had what it takes, but unfortunately for Complexity, they were playing with a stand-in, so it was really hard. NLG, a lot of their games, they actually have good drafts, but they just didn't execute very well. They made a lot of mistakes because the team was very inexperienced at LAN events, but overall they had very good drafts in most of their games.
Yeah, which I'm glad you touched that out, because one of the things I want to ask you specifically, since you're a former player, is in this particular LAN, a lot of teams are coming in with different rosters in terms of what they're used to. Obviously, we have Team Empire replacing some of the carry player with Havos and Funnick, and Complexity coming with the stand-in. And obviously, I believe one of the team didn't have their carry player as well. No, that was Chessie.
Yeah, so
not carry, yeah, Complexity.
MVP also coming in juggled.
Right. So how would that kind of figure into a LAN event where you're drafting different heroes, where you're playing against teams that you haven't played against before?
I think you draft basically heroes that the stand-in is comfortable with. It's very hard to, just put him in a position where, we just want you to play the hero pool that you are of the guy that you're replacing, because that guy the sub might not be familiar with the heroes that he's playing. You just try to make him as comfortable as possible, so you can actually, put less pressure on him if you force him to play some hero that he's not comfortable with. So I think that's mostly the important point when you're playing with a stand-in. You want to make sure that he's comfortable.
Okay, one of the teams that did show up with the full roster, 4CL, finished number 1 on the groups, 12 points. I believe only dropping 1 best-of-2 series, so they're looking really, really strong. Meanwhile, on the other side, playing their matchup today is going to be their MVP opponent. Obviously, they're kind of mismatch of a matchup, but they did very well in the group stage as well.
Yeah, MVP looked really strong. They had a couple of sloppy team fights, but for the most part, their drafting is somewhat predictable, but their roaming and their positioning has been completely, almost, I want to say flawless throughout the group stage.
That's their identity, I think.
Yeah.
At TI, MVP always drafted like this. They are very predictable in what they want, but they're just going to play their style, they play their game. And mostly it's all about the early game for them, whether they can actually win their lanes, whether they can actually accumulate enough advantage from laning phase so they can actually just face rush, they take your tower, they take Roshan. And mostly their heroes are all designed to win their lanes.
Okay.
That's their main weakness. If they don't win their lanes and somehow 4CL have Lich, Bane, like all these supports are very important at dealing with in the laning phase. If you are MVP and you are aiming to win your lanes, you might want to consider taking out all these heroes or either banning them or you're picking them for your own.
All right, so judging from what we saw in the group stage, you talk about MVP's draft is somewhat predictable. Name me a couple of heroes for the viewers at home to look forward to in terms of who's going to be making the big plays.
So the big ones I look at would be IO Tiny, of course. Both teams run that, but Bane, SF, Tusk, and Doom are the big four I'm looking at. Either team will take SF for QO or for Pycat in the mid lane, but Winter touched upon how important the supports are. So it's going to be very interesting to me to see. 4CL generally have banned Bane in the first phase, so it's curious to me whether or not they actually let the Doom or the Tiny or the SF slip through because they want to secure those lanes.
Yep. You can't really ban everything, and you have to strategize between what you're more comfortable in dealing with rather than just, we're just going to try and ban everything, because sometimes you can't expect what the opponent is going to ban, and something might, it doesn't always go according to a plan. So you have to improvise and be ready that something might go through in this situation, and you have a solution for each and every hero.
So in the background right now, we're currently having MVP being interviewed. So I don't know if we are being muted as they are broadcasting the interview, but if not, we could keep talking about what's on camera. 4 Clovers and a Leprechaun, obviously looking real strong. That's Saksa on camera. Now we're going back to MVP. I actually don't recognize most of the MVP players. Do you, Winter? Who's that sitting with the black hoodie in the middle?
Dude, that's Kyo.
Yeah, that's Kyo. He's actually the only one I know.
To the left of Kyo is Foref.
Foref, okay. I think Dubu is sitting on the far left.
Yeah, probably the youngest
maybe
player,
that's
right?
Yeah, this one is Dubu, the most left.
And of course, that's Nikwa. Actually, I was about to call him the carry player of 4CL, but recently, they've been doing a lot of musical chairs lane.
Yeah, they seem like pretty versatile in terms of their roles. Pycat will generally take towards the mid lane. If they pick up something like an SF, even the Wind Ranger to some extent. Nikwa has kind of been on these tanky cores. He's played the Doom for them in the off lane at some point. He plays the Viper pretty much every matchup. So 4CL looking fairly flexible, at least in the 1 and 2.
And times have changed. When we say carry, it doesn't mean safe lane player anymore, because the carry is more like the mid player nowadays. Most of the teams put their...
Or off lane. I seen Nikwa in the off lane much more than the safe lane.
I guess even some teams or some players would refer the off lane to be as the new safe lane, because it's safer in the off lane nowadays compared to the actual safe lane, because you get so much pressure.
I talked to Dubu about his pub games, and he said that the off lane is the new safe lane. It's much safer there.
It is. Like,
you get much more farm.
Just look at how Jackie Mao lanes his
Bane,
his
Ember
heroes.
Spirit.
His hero is always on the off lane. Like, it's safer because the creep is nearer to your tower. That's number 1, and number 2, the off lane of the enemy is like some toss undyke, some crazy lane, and you're not farming that.
Yeah.
As an Ember.
All right. Speaking of Ember Spirit, I think that's definitely one of MVP Serial's better picks. They put on their safe lane a lot.
Yeah, basically what we'll see from MVP is their safe lane will be like Ember, maybe Jug, Gyro. I don't think Gyro they've been prioritizing so much. I see a lot of Juggernaut or Ember, like heroes that can help the team with a few levels. You don't really need too many big items, just small items, drums or Aquila, Phase, whatever boots you go for. But those are the heroes that you'll be seeing from MP mostly.
Yeah.
And everyone else would be heroes that can team fight very well, especially like Witch Doctor, we see them pick a lot as well.
You saw Witch Doctor and Jakiro.
Yeah, supports that can team fight very well and push towers. Those are supports that MVP would go for. And for their actual carry, it's always going to be in the mid lane, like SF or TA.
Okay, so one of the things that I forgot to bring up, and it's very important to bring up now, is that because 4CL finished first in the group stage, they actually got to choose who they want to play against. And out of Empire, Vega, and MVP Phoenix, they chose MVP Phoenix. So I got a chance to talk to the players for 4CL and ask them why they chose it. But before I give away the reason, what's your thought about at least having that advantage and why they chose MVP?
I feel like it's a pretty risky pickup, a risky pick from 4CL's side. MVP, we're kind of a dark horse in this one, and I feel like because they're so good at roaming and 4CL are so pick-off intensive in their play style that often we can see a lot of turnarounds coming from MVP's side. But I feel like 4CL has had, at least in the direct matchup, a pretty good record overall from when they were facing MVP. I think most of us had the consensus that Vega was the team to pick as they looked shaky in the group stage. But after the group stage, I mean, they just went out in Star Ladder and 2-0'd Secret. They 2-1'd another pretty good team as well. So, I mean, all the teams, as we said, pretty evenly matched up. But I think most of us expected MVP to kind of be the team that most teams didn't want to face, kind of the Na'Vi of the previous TIs.
I agree. I think that MVP strikes me as a team like Na'Vi. Like, remember, I think it was this TI, Na'Vi was like, you don't pick them because in a BO1 you don't want to play against Na'Vi. Like, for me, MVP is the same. You don't want, like, obviously it's not a BO1, but MVP is a dangerous opponent. Like, it's very unpredictable. Like, maybe it's a little better to. We initially thought that they would actually pick Vega, like we were talking. Like, Vega seemed like they were really shaky recently, and they're not doing so well. They're very confused with what is actually working for them because they are losing a lot of their games. It's like they're struggling to find what is working for them. But during Star Ladder, they did very well. Like,
The new high-performance Rig 500 headset from Plantronics is designed to match the skills of an aspiring esport player with the gear they need to win the needs of esports and competitive players around the world. The new Rig 500 series of headsets from Plantronics.
Them down. Take a look on the screens.
Hello and welcome to the game show Global Esports Cup live from DreamHack Moscow. I'm Grandis V, joined by Mike Flores, and we're going into Four Clovers and Lepcon versus MVP Phoenix, the first series of today. And already well underway in the draft, we're going to see Tiny and Bane first banned by MVP Phoenix, leaving the doomed first pick for them to select Darkseer Dazzle the response, followed by Reason's Jakiro.
Yeah, definitely both teams have done their homework. Both teams have played each other in the past before, but Four Clovers, it seems like they are, well, first of all, not going to get their hands on the Shadow Fiend. We see them tear games up before with that. Get the Shadow Fiend a little more farm, get Bambo, and get Nikwa heroes that may not necessarily scale super well into the late game, but can definitely hold their own through the early mid-game phase, kind of ride that momentum through to the end. And somehow they've been getting away with it, but it seems like they may have to adapt their strat this time. MVP Phoenix sliding right into their comfort zone. Doom Jakiro, maybe not full MVP Phoenix, but man, it's about as close as you can get.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've seen them pull this through in the group stage to a good amount of success. The early aggressive power from the Jakiro especially has helped them out a lot. But 4CL also not looking too terrible. Probably a Bambo Nightstalker and a Nikwa Darkseer here. Or they have a lot of flexibility when it comes to their lanes. The bigger thing is that they really want to put Pycat on a super farming hero that they can allocate a lot of the map resources to. And we don't know exactly what that is yet, but, well, actually, no, it looks like a Nikwa Slardar.
Well, the upside of going for this kind of strategy with 4 Clovers is that you're going up against a Doom. And first of all, Nightstalker and Slardar, and I guess to a lesser extent Darkseer, but to a much lesser extent Darkseer, pretty Doom resistant. If they get Doom, they'll be able, for the most part, to just shrug it off and either leave the fight or keep participating in the fight. So by going for this pretty typical 4 Clover strategy, they are, as much as they can, mitigating the strength of the Doom. Now, that being said, Jakiro and Spearbreaker, now Queen of Pain pick for the MVP Phoenix side. Seems like they want to turn up the heat at least as much as they possibly can.
And I think they're going to be very well equipped to do that. They have a lot of global map presence with the Spiritbreaker charge and the range coming out from Queen of Pain's Blink. It really does feel like they have the ability to stop 4 Clovers from getting map control and putting a lot of pressure onto Pycat's hero. I think Doom, especially for MVP Phoenix, is very good against 4 Clovers. And one of the biggest scaling damage dealers on the enemy side is just going to be getting all of the farm. As nice as it is to have farm on a Slardar, really all you need is that Blink Dagger to open up the fights.
It is also, though, Queen of Pain going up against a Nightstalker, voluntarily picking Queen of Pain into a hero like Doom or Nightstalker who have those silences that just last forever. It is kind of going in with a death wish, kind of. I mean, it's definitely not the perfect situation for a co-op to be in, yet still it does seem like MVP Phoenix want to end this game sooner rather than later. Got a Disruptor ban now from the 4 Clovers side as Phoenix, well, maybe they're going to give a little bit more farm to this Spiritbreaker. They have been known to have some pretty good rolls on their bashes in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And for 4 Clovers, maybe consider something like Pycat's Ember here as their 5th pick. Is a nice combination with the Darkseer to follow up after those vacuums.
I don't know.
It's really hard. I mean, there's not like one hero that comes to mind that really wants to be doomed or can fight through it super effectively. Is there anything that stands out as a great pick for 4 Clovers here, if not for that Ember?
I mean, it is kind of them like with the
Wind Ranger, I guess.
I guess, yeah, screw it, I was going to say, right? Apparently it's not going to be relevant right now, but Wind Ranger is the pick for 4 Clovers. As far as anti-Doom is concerned, I mean, and to a lesser extent anti-Spiritbreaker as well, Wind Ranger is definitely an okay hero. It typically tends to be a little bit more on the swifter side, much like Slardar and Nightstalker, and Darkseer can get anyone out. So 4 Clovers definitely have heroes that can just leave. That being said, Phoenix are going to be on the chase, and it is going to go both ways.
Templar Assassin.
Okay, we got Templar Assassin as the last pick, as got full audio in my headset now. Good to hear from both ears.
Yeah, absolutely. 4 Clovers, a lot of emphasis is going to be placed on this Blink Dagger on the Slardar and their ability after that Blink to be able to transition the pickoffs that they're going to look for into objectives. And the Wind Ranger is a pick that can definitely do that. Still, I really like the MVP Phoenix draft. All around, it looks very well balanced. MP and QL on signature heroes. They can get a lot of work done in the lanes and throughout the game. It feels like MVP Phoenix are in their comfort zone, and that's a little scary for 4CNL.
I feel like both teams are really in their comfort zone. Like, obviously, you would like to have like, a Tiny for Pycat or a Shadow Fiend on the 4 Clovers side. And I don't know, Bat Rider was banned out. So that's another one of Sexy Bambo's really comfortable heroes. Yet, all that being said, it doesn't seem like 4 Clovers are really stretching out to make this draft work all that much. So, you gotta have both teams in their own comfort zone. Someone is going to be just a little bit more comfortable with those heroes, and it seems like we may wait just a little bit to see who that actually is going to be. I have to fix my settings, so I'm going to let you do the opening.
Fair enough. Well, Nikwa is going to be handling the Darkseer, presumably going into the off lane. They'll throw the Slaughter onto Sexy Bambo. EGM will be supporting on the Dazzle. Pycat is going to be playing the Wind Ranger, and Saxa is going to be on your Nightstalker. At least for the Dire side. MVP Phoenix on the Radiant are going to throw Forev in the offlane as the Doom. Their supporting duo is going to be Dubu on the Spiritbreaker and Reason on his signature Jakiro, and QO on the Templar Assassin, and MP on the Queen of Pain.
All right, guys, this is the first game of the tournament, so there may be a couple of hiccups. Seems like the lights may be too bright. Probably, I think too bright is probably more likely than not bright enough. My keyboard doesn't have arrow keys for some reason. I'm not sure. We have the same keyboard, and you have arrow keys.
Yours are just not illuminated.
Do
those work?
No, it doesn't work. So, I mean, it's a good thing I'm not controlling the camera.
I don't know.
I don't know. Numlock never does anything anyway. But, yeah, hopefully we should get all these issues ironed out, and we should be able to proceed soon. Whose draft do you like more? Who do you think is going to take this game?
Oh, I really like MVP. As nice as it is to have comfort heroes for 4CNL, I think the MVP as a team just match up very good, or very well, excuse me, against 4CNL and their general play style. MVP, although they are going to be on the aggressive, they're also very good reactionary, and I think that 4 Clovers are going to potentially overextend a little bit. It's very easy to do when you have like the Slaughter, the Night Stalker, these heroes that just want to run at you. And if there's a good conversion coming up for an MVP, 4CNL are very momentum-based this game.
Both of these two teams in general are very chaos heavy. They like to thrive when there's just a lot of things going on, and in that regard you have to like look to your playmakers. Like for MVP, it's usually going to be QO on whatever hero he's playing, and well, this time it just happens to be one of his best, Templar Assassin, and it's usually Bambo on the 4 Clover side. So if these heroes can get a decent amount of farm, I think the game will really depend on who's a little bit more locked in with the rest of their team. Sometimes you see Bambo going a little bit too ham, a little bit too early, and maybe everyone is not quite on board with the plays that are about to be made. So I do think that MVP's draft is very good, but it is definitely difficult to say if anyone has a decisively stronger draft. It's like 50-50, 55-45 at the worst or best, I guess, for either side.
Yep. Well, as far as the bounty raids are concerned, 1 to the Wind Ranger and 1 to the Slaughter. 4 Clover is going to get the better half of that exchange when it comes to the very early positioning of the map. And against the Templar Assassin, Wind Ranger is definitely going to benefit from having that extra gold, already being able to ferry out of south.
All right, mid lane matchup, QO Templar Assassin versus Pycats Wind Ranger. Should be fairly even. Inherently, this matchup usually is, but it is QO we're talking about, so expect some potential BS there. Speaking of BS, Dubu's Spearbreaker, and he's charging right into EGM. Now has the intel that there's Shadow Wave leveled up level 1, but this Spearbreaker's build, though, Orb of Venom, Charge of Darkness level 1, has a little more clarity, so he will be able to charge again soon, but this is definitely a build that screams aggression.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, it's really not going to be until level 2 where he gets the most of the aggression. Heal is going to be thrown out by the Dazzle, and it's going to put a lot of damage onto Freb. The MVP heroes are dropping fairly low, and he is going to drop low, but Pycat's not going to be able to secure this kill. Hasn't leveled up Power Shot. Refraction was still a very delicate situation for the TA. She looks for his last CS to secure herself the bottle. Shackle is going to latch, and this is probably going to be her first one. Power Shot going to miss, but the auto attack not. And that's going to be first blood, the first of the tournament here for 4CNL, as Pycat is going to have a huge lead in the lane now.
I think that's really the only type of play that you make when you're on stage, because that was very easily avoidable by QO. Like, his goal, obviously, get the bottle so that he will be able to recover from similar situations in the future, but you're at less than 100 HP up against a hero who has Power Shot. Like, she could also get Shackle Shot, and look at that, she had both. So QO really playing things super greedy right there, and I just don't think the payoff was worth it. Granted, you don't really want to go all the way back to the base less than 2 minutes into the game, but when the alternative is death, Pycat now has a really firm grasp on this game.
Yeah, and even worse than that, he didn't buy the bottle before he died, so that's a good amount of gold lost, and he's just now going to be able to pick that up, despite completely rushing it in the lane. And speaking of going all the way back to base, Dubu's going to have to do just that. Still, the Spirit Breaker manages to find level 2, so he at least has that going for him. Now with Bash, there's a little bit of killing potential, but across the board, 4 Clover's lanes seem to be going very well for them.
It seems like a low CS game across the board, it seems. However, we have a third lane to look at. It's going to be Nikwa in the Darkseer with Saxa's Night Stalker right now. Pretty classic aggression lane as far as 2v2s are concerned. It is going to be a little bit difficult to top. Killing MP, probably a little bit more difficult until you get 1 point in that curse on Saxa, but going for the Jakiro, going for MP, these are definitely things that they can do once the Iron Shells comes up. However, Saxa taking a lot of damage over time. You have to be careful with your positioning. You can take a lot of chip damage in this lane as either the Darkseer or the Night Stalker.
They'll be able to search him out this time, and he is going to be just fine. A lot of brawls across the map. EGM up towards top. Dubu is going to get bugged out of it. There's not a lot of killing potential unless he gets lucky. But if he does, maybe MVP could get themselves on the board. Yeah, it's really difficult to say. MVP are still doing reasonably well in this bottom lane, but at the moment, they don't have a lot of ways to shove out the wave as quickly as they need to deal with that double Iron Shell. But once you get higher levels for the Queen and Pain and the Jakiro both, they can manage this.
The high level of Liquid Fire is really going to make this lane tough for the 4 Clover side. Only level 1 right now, though he's level 3, so we'll see if he wants to put a second point. Well, there it is, Liquid Fire. So, Nico does have the Soul Ring, Saxa does have double
mid lane again. This time around, no detection. Kilo surviving on 30 HP. I didn't think that would be lethal.
He doesn't have any mana.
He's bottling up.
It's empty.
He has another power shot. And Joe is going to be able to get a close call for the Templar Assassin, but he's going to be able to get out of there, if only just.
All calculated, man. All calculated. This is in a situation where you would expect Kyo to be doing perhaps a little bit better than he is. Still is not doing too terribly in the CS, but now actually being driven all the way back to base with an empty bottle. You can't stay there waiting for the courier to come back or something like that. And Pycat gets his rune. And, well, the other rune, it also went to the 4 Clover side. So double rune secures for 4 Clovers. Mid lane is going as well as it could be right now. And though the Queen of Pain on the bottom lane is being pressured perhaps as much as 4 Clovers really would like, man, top lane, they're getting CS. Bottom lane, they're getting CS. Mid lane, they're getting kills and CS. I don't think they can be too unhappy about this.
Absolutely. And a big issue here for MVP is they just don't have great heroes to rotate onto the Wind Ranger. Spirit Breaker, as soon as the Wind Runs pop, there's nothing it can do after charging in. And securing the kill is almost impossible. And it feels like this Wind Ranger pick is doing a lot of work for 4 Clovers already, and then just being able to transition later down the line. Saxa has made his way towards this mid lane. 2 Mangoes on the Night Stalker, level 3.
Did you see Dubu?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Otherwise, Nico would probably be falling back right now. But
doubling forward, Nico was in a lot of trouble here. Charging under the tower, they should be able to secure this kill. Just one more auto attack ought to do it. The Spirit Breaker is going to get it.
Not like this, not again. This time he has mana, so he'll be able to crash. No, Void! Oh, too early. Was the power shot being enchanted? Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't. So maybe she thought it was.
And he's just going to
She had
get blown up
refraction
again.
in like 0.5 seconds. She just waited. Refraction would have saved her ass.
That was a very unfortunate death for the Templar Assassin. 0-2 and 0. Even though CS-wise he's not getting absolutely crushed, he's still getting vastly out-farmed at those kills. I mean, the Pycat's having a grand old time. They're charging forward, but they'll just turn for the shackle, interrupting the charge. There's just not much that they can do to salvage this mid lane, I want to say. I think a lot of the emphasis for MVP now has to be on getting this Queen of Pain, her level 6, and active around the map to help remedy the fact that early game is not going too hot.
It seems like, yeah, they need level 6 on this Queen of Pain really badly. Same thing for 4F's Doombringer. Once you have those tools, you actually have a chance to kill off this Wind Ranger. Like, Jakiro isn't going to do jack to the Wind Ranger pretty much ever. With Sonic Wave and or Doom, you'll be able to make happen, but now Pycat, oh, he's going to find Ryzen on the bottom lane. Focus fire on the Jakiro, and it looks like they'll take down the Jakiro and take down kills off on top lane where EGM's trying to TP out. He'll get out.
Successful Grave TP, and across the board it's still going to favor 4CNL, and maybe now they know that there is that deep ward too to give them vision for that charge. After they commit both the war stop and the charge, there's nothing you can do to stop that dazzle unless you get lucky. And unfortunately for them, the 17% wasn't rolling right.
First nighttime phase, Night Stalker is 1 kill up, but not really a ton going for Saxa just yet, though nighttime is starting to phase out. Something that I would like to see from the 4 Clover side, just a couple of eyes here on the Templar Assassin's Ancients or her jungle. The jungle is pretty sparse right now for the Radiant side, but you know that you shut down the Templar Assassin really hard. The only thing that can go possibly better is completely lock her out of the game by taking care of those stacks, or just kill her again.
Up QO. They are going to open up with the Void, slow down. The damage isn't immediately enough. With TP support coming out from Reason, they are going to be able to save Templar Assassin's life, at least this time. But still, that's a rotation for Stoke. Brev is going to bump into EGM. Doesn't have any support from the Spirit Breaker. I don't think this is going to be close to it. Just some traded blows. They're trying to help out QO, and it really is going to be the jungle stacks that are going to do it if they can. Secure a charging forward onto Saxa the Night Stalker. Oh, should be just fine, I want to say. He is going to get charged. Dubu trying to run away. They pop a Mango Void onto Dubu, and here comes Pycat with the focus fire, and Dubu is going to go down. That was way too aggressive, I want to say.
I don't think there's any situation where level 3 Spirit Breaker can kill a level 4 Night Stalker during nighttime. Unless you need Nether Strike if you're going to get that. It's clearly not up.
Brev.
Yeah.
This could get really hairy. He's not getting the bashes. Bambo is getting chuked around the tower, and Brev is going to be just fine.
Oh, but he's got to be a little bit careful. Queen of Pain is teleporting in. She does have a Sonic Wave right now. MP, she's going to blink right into a crush. I feel like that might happen. Or just Shadow Strike right clicks. They have full vision charge. Sonic Wave is there. She will get crushed. But the charge should eventually kill. No, oh, there it is. Blink for MP, but a Shadow Strike response of Pycat is there in the right place at the right time. Bambo will not die to the Shadow Strike. MVP are just getting nothing out of this game.
That was so unfortunate for them. That should have been an easy kill onto Bambo, but EGM was on the mark with that Shallow Grave, and Queen of Pain had to commit so hard for it, and it's going to end up going down as well. This is not looking pretty at all for MVP. Just this very quick start for CNL, already almost a 4,000 net worth advantage for them, and experience not looking too much better for MVP here. How do you get back into this game? Sonic Wave's on cooldown. I think they just have to wait, as scary as that is.
Yeah, just wait and try to minimize your losses. The problem with waiting at this stage in the game is that while you're chilling, the Night Stalker is also chilling. So it's daytime. This is exactly what the Night Stalker wants to do. Not much. And MVP, they're stacking very, very high this Ancient Camp for QO. There's a lot of potential cash there for the Templar Assassin. Doom, he's almost level 6, so MVP will have a couple of assets to work with. But the problem is that for Clovers, they're just getting so much more than they really should have out of these lanes. Like, look at the Darkseer. He almost has mech up already. And granted, the lane, you'd expect the Darkseer to be doing very well in it. But like between the 1,200 gold on the Slardar already up, we're going to have a really fast mechanism, really fast Blink Dagger. Pycat's Wind Ranger is also pretty damn farmed as well, so those items may just come up at around all the same time, in which case we could just see a death push from 4 Clovers, like into all the tier 2s even.
And it's not going to take a lot for 4CNL to be able to push into those towers, or even go for a Roshan.
He's found Shackle Shot, will latch. What a Shackle Shot, so long! He will get the refraction charges up, but that was a BS Shackle Shot if I ever did see one.
There have been a lot of those this tournament and others. Now at Regeneration, and Wind Ranger maybe going for round number 2. Power Shot, he's going to throw it. That wouldn't have been lethal even if it did connect. Kyo for now is going to be fine, but here comes Exa. It's not darkness, and it's not nighttime either. Not level 6 yet in the Night Stalker. Everything's kind of slowed down a little bit. Kyo gonna throw a slow the way of Pycat. But oh, another Shackle! And maybe they can make this one happen. This time around it is without Focus Fire. His support just isn't quite there yet.
Still doing so much free damage to this Templar Assassin. Kyo is constantly just afraid for her life right now. She saw that the Night Stalker was
Bimbo is going to get charged up by Dubu. This time around, they don't have Sonic Wave because of the mana. They have Watt Charges, excuse me, so they could kill him off. They have just a little bit more help, but with each hammer around the corner, there's no reason for them to commit that. And Bimbo's going to be just fine, well on his way towards that Blink Dagger.
They really need to kill off this Slardar, or they really need to kill off someone, MVP. The Darkseer might be a little bit too late. His mechanism is already completed, so a TP into any of these lanes with a mechanism hero and a Dazzle, it's going to be really hard for MVP to get these kills. Even with a Doom, like, if you Doom up like the Night Stalker or whatever, he just gets so much help. You are going to try to charge him, Dubu. Yeah, that's probably not a good idea. I really like this Observer Ward place, though, by the Dire side. Right up the ramp, we'll see when Kyo is starting her Ancients. And 4 Clovers don't really have any heroes that are great at jacking those Ancients, but they have great heroes as far as killing off the TA.
Yeah, now Refraction has been popped, and they're going to make their way around that corner, but they're going to cut off Dubu instead as he's pincered. Nikwa as well as Exa are there. They're going to drop the Void. They won't be able to silence him before they charge away, but a Shackle will latch, and Dubu is completely gone. The Templar Assassin can no longer go for that Ancient stack.
Can they take any of these? Probably not, right?
A couple of the small creeps, but that would be too risky. He's in mid, the crush lands on the QO, he's going to go down. They do have Zaxa, but what does that really matter? He's still going to run at them, and it looks like the Night Stalker might die. Brev with the stomp, the Sonic Wave, they'll kill off 2. Pycat still with the Focus Fire onto Fareb. Very taking with that Scorched Earth region. Can they secure this kill? It looks like they will be able to. Shacklegate them a little bit closer. Focus Fire. And that'll be your dominating for Pycat and the Bounty Rune afterwards. The 2-for-2 exchange. The Sonic Wave was successful, but is that really worth it? The TA and the Doom both going down.
It is nice for MVP to get a couple of these kills. Queen of Pain especially getting both of them. Unfortunately, she blinked into the trees after that happened, so not able to continue the fight. Had a ton of mana, had full bottle, but if you are in the trees, you can't really do that much. No way to get her out of there right now either. I want to say that if she's alive, if she's actually poking, then the Doom probably gets out just because 4 Clovers is a little bit scared of moving on. But now the Ancients, they're going to be at least attempted here by 4 Clovers. They've taken 1 creep, 2 creeps, 3, 4, dual breath from the low ground, and the Sonic Traps are there.
Spotted. They are going to surge out 1, charging through. The Shackle's going to be thrown. Dubu's taking a lot of damage. Charge on the low ground. The Jakiro is going to take quite a lot of damage with the Power Shot thrown as well. Void, can they get Raisin? 1 shot from Pycat, and they will. The first and only kill, at least for now. Bambo has to make his way down through the south. Forev has the clap. It's going to slow them down as the Shackle latches onto Dubu. Heal the Power Shot down. Double kill for Pycat. QO is still doing a good amount of damage here. Nikwa trying to surge out, and he's going to be just fine. at least for the time being, as they chase down Saxa. Another trap is going to be deployed, and another shot. Meld strike, not quite enough, but one more attack from MP is double kill for the Queen of Pain, and now that's worth it for MVP. A nice conversion as they probably stick around way too long trying to secure those angels.
That position was just not that great for 4 Clovers. I mean, you're going up against Spear Break, you're going up against Shakira. Lots of AoE on the MVP side, but they kind of get a lucky break because MVP kind of get going one at a time. If MVP were a little bit more decisive, follow the Spear Breaker charge all the way right down the middle, you could bet that they would probably be getting a lot more damage done a lot faster, and maybe would have saved a couple of their heroes there yet. That being said, 4 Clovers, they ultimately did feel the downside of that position. It's just not a good one. So now it seems like the stacks should be cleared by the MVP side, and they're starting to kick back a little in this game. They've seen a couple of items now on QO, maybe MP grab something. Orchid is coming, but it's coming up super slowly, and for QO, man, sometimes shit happens.
Yeah, it does, and it did. That's really sad for the Templar Assassin. Ends up losing 269 gold, and a lot of the time has been committed for them. But yeah, big smoke up. They have the vision on Queen of Pain. There's no way out of here, and that is going to be a dead queen. Wicked sick for Pycat. He almost has his axe done. This is on 200 gold.
All right, so 4 Clovers, if they take a fight in a defensive position, again, both these two teams thrive on chaos, and that usually means a little bit more of an open terrain type build. Like if you look at where the bottom lane Dire Observer Ward is, about that area is where 4 Clovers want to be fighting, not super close quarters where we saw near the Roshan pit. It's getting to a point, however, where they're getting enough gold and which have enough brute force, they can take a position-based fight pretty much anywhere and kind of be okay with that. MP, like, they have drums on the Doom. It's not bad, not by any stretch, but Gio dying to the Ancients there, losing gold that he really can't afford to, and MP still has an Oblivion staff, which is a really bad item until it turns into something else. So 4 Clovers will have a timing right now where they have pretty much everything, except for Bambo's Blink. He's actually a little bit short on that.
Just a little bit shy, but it's not going to be too long. And once they have all of those available to them, they can very easily take fights. But even without it, they'll be making their move. MVP around the corner. Templar Assassin has an invis. They're going to keep on focusing down. Can MVP get here in time? It looks like the answer is probably no, even though TA is privy to this fact. That's going to be your Aegis for Pycat. And everything seems to be lining up. And with that extra gold, now your Blink Dagger and then some on the Slaughter. MVP, of course, do get that Tier 1 tower in the top lane while all of that was going on as they go for the Tier 1, but the Roshan is going to vastly tilt that in the scales of 4 Clovers. Now, 8,000 net worth plus on that Wind Ranger. So much gold for Pycat.
MVP just as a team are a team that thrives on chaos and being aggressive. When they're on the defensive, like, they'll sometimes scrape together a couple of decent defenses, but specifically in their series versus Vega beforehand a couple days ago, they just thrashed Vega because they got a little bit ahead and then they just ran with that. That's why they are the only team, I believe, in this tournament to pick up a hero that does that. Like, that's his job. He has a little bit of high ground defense mixed in there, and that's not bad, but as far as pushing, I mean, that's what Shakira wants to do. He always wants to be on the aggressive, because when he's on the aggressive, more than likely he's not taking damage himself, so you're able to play that siege. And speaking of Shakira, he'll get crushed.
That's it. No follow-up this time, but what they will be able to do is put a lot of damage on the Tier 2 tower mid. Queen of Pain's been working on this Tier 2 top for a long time, so MP is going to get quite a lot in the trade here as they bring back the Night Stalker. Now is the fight going to break out? It's getting pretty tense here. Searching away, Nikwa, the slow is going to be applied to EGM. Meld Strike, and EGM is dropped pretty low, but not quite low enough. Sonic Wave will secure the deal. And Pycat now charged up. They are going to have the screen follow-up from MP, but Pycat's just not taking that much damage. And hasted up, he's going to be able to get out of there. Nether Strike onto Saxa. Crush is going to be thrown, vacuum back into the wall. Sexy Bambo. With the focus fire, they'll bring down one. The Templar Assassin will hit the deck, charging through. Stun a lot of heroes, but Pycat's mostly unanswered and is even close to losing his Aegis. Canceling this TP, they have the Shackle Shot. That is going to be a Denchik hero. So many heroes hitting the deck is MVP just way too long. They're just too tanky. And they have vision on this Queen of Pain. She has another blink. And the still into 60 Bambo, he's not going to be able to give pursuit. At least not far enough, it seems.
Vacuum wall is one thing, but being able to keep the fight near that vacuum wall is quite another. And Pycat was in what looked like a pretty bad position to start things off, but MVP just having to deal with those illusions, having to deal with that Darkseer. And now they're still actually going for MP, who doesn't have a blink for another, or has a TV for another 3 seconds. Welcome to the Thunderdome. This is not a good Thunderdome. Bambo will drop low, but Wind Ranger will snag the kill beyond godlike for Pycat. 10-0-4 with still Aegis in tow. MVP really needs to get a lot more from that fight, but when you walk into a wall and you're unable to disengage from it like that, it's completely hopeless. That was even a 5v4 fight.
Yeah, that was not a good situation at all for MVP. Now you have a straight-up Blink Dagger on Pycat, too. The amount of gold on this guy is absolutely insane. And a Blink Dagger also on the Darkseer. It's going to be easier for them to find those big vacuum wall initiations and follow that up with the Slaughter. This is going to be a really difficult game for MVP. I think one of the biggest issues for them is the fact that Brev just hasn't found very many good Dooms. In fact, not very many Doom, period, let alone on crucial targets.
You got like one on the Night Stalker, and Night Stalker doesn't really care, especially a more supporty-oriented Night Stalker. But I mean, I say this is a support Night Stalker. Dude's got Earn. He has a point booster as well. Support only in title, but as far as farm is concerned, he's pretty darn loaded. I mean, he's pretty bulky, first of all, so dooming him not going to be the best thing to do in the world. For 4Clovers, like, they have these Blink Daggers. They don't even need the Blink Dagger on Darkseer, honestly. Like, even if he didn't have this gold, it would have been such a decisive lead over MVP, especially since now they're taking all these towers. MVP have taken 2 of their own. 2 tier 1s, not terrible, but 4Clovers, if they have their Dazzle, not get picked off to start things off, they don't even need a huge vacuum wall to win a fight.
Yeah. MVP just aren't getting enough income, especially on Qo. Only has his Blink Dagger, and I think this game, maybe even more than most, it's just not going to be enough. In theory, it's really good against the Dazzle to be able to bring him down at the beginning of the fights, but I don't think that's going to happen. Blink Crush attempted on the Qo. They have the vision. Focus Fire is going to burn through for action reasonably quickly. Can they follow up further? Charging into Pycat. Not a lot of mana on this Wind Ranger. Dubu stuck on the high ground. They will silence him up. Dubu in a lot of trouble here.
Nether Strike.
Oh,
soon.
Let's see.
Get down.
Looking for the charge
Dubu,
instead.
please leave.
Oh, he's just going to get voided. Obliterate. Meantime, Qo initiated on by Bambo and Nikwa. They're going to be able to bring him down too. MVP just are getting outmaneuvered, outplayed, and MP is going to be able to TP back, so at least the Queen of Pain gets out if they're alive. But MVP, the best they've found are a couple of trades. They haven't ever really been themselves on the aggressive successfully.
I mean, that trade right there was Templar Assassin and Spirit Breaker for please don't push our base for a little bit longer. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not really keen on those types of trades, but you gotta do what you gotta do. You have to split push, I feel, as MVP. You can't really win in heads of fight. Well, maybe now you can, since the Aegis just timed down on Pycat, so at least they have a chance, but it just doesn't seem like it's super likely. MP, does he have his Orchid? Please tell me yes. No, he still does not. Oh, Pycat's gonna find a Jackal, Focus Fire. No problem. No charge is going to come in. MP's still alive right now. We'll throw Sonic Wave onto 2. Sticks up, trying to raise Pycat. Will not work out. Pycat, power shot through. Oof, not quite gonna connect. So steal Duke right now. The Strikers have been used now. Here comes backup. It's 4M and Reason both. EGM is screwed right now. He'll grave himself. He has a TP. However, there's an Ice Path available. Now there is no longer. Pycat can deal with that. Trying to clip himself into a corner. Still alive right now. Juba's not doing enough damage right now. He's gonna turn around Focus Fire, and that will be his survival of Pycat. As they do have the wall in the back. MP have lost 3. Now 4M. He's gonna go into a corner. Maybe looking for Pycat, but there's no one there. Nico's gonna block him off even if he does find him. Now 4M. He's in the Thunderdome, and again, this is not where anyone wants to be on MVP. They'll lose the Doom. It's a disaster for the MVP side. They didn't even get Pycat.
They got nothing. They'll get a little bit of time for Qo in order to farm his Ancients, but that means nothing really at all, as 4Clovers are looking incredibly good. Their positioning inside of these fights has been on point. MVP, it feels like they're just trying too hard. They can't find the jumps, and then once they've committed that deep, they can't actually get out. This is not looking very good for MVP. Is there anything comes to mind that'll allow them to come back into this game? It really feels like 4Clovers is just smooth sailing. Wait for that next Roshan.
I mean, it is 4Clovers in the driver's seat right now. MVP kind of do have to go for those opportunities because Pycat dropped really low, and there is something to be said with that. The Wind Ranger is doing a hell of a lot of damage, but she is not immortal until she grabs another Aegis, but that may or may not be coming soon. They do have a Blink Dagger on Qo. They have the Desolator in production, let's say, 1 hammer towards the 2 that she needs. MVP definitely have what it takes to take these fights, and I feel like they kind of have to keep trying to do what they just did and hope they'll be able to kill off those heroes before 4 Clovers get any sort of response in position in time, because any alternative, like a full 5-man, isn't really going to work out well for the MVP side. They have to still rely on these skirmishes. It's going to be a little bit easier now that they have the Orchid on the Queen of Pain, but this is a pretty late item. I mean, it's not really going to help them as much as they would really like it to.
At the very least, it's something, and maybe that's going to allow you to maybe kill off EGM on the backlines, who's had some really darn good graves this game. It's a step in the right direction, but only a baby step, really, for MVP. And even without having a second life on Pycat, I don't think they really need it to be able to take down these tier 2 towers, and they're just going to control the enemy side of the map. MVP are forced to group up so much, and there's just not a lot of map resources available to them.
Yeah, they know that there's a gem on the other side. Saxa has been wandering around with that one for quite a long time now. It doesn't quite yet have his Aghanims, but he's really, really close to it, so soon the map is just going to be completely dark from the MVP side. In fact, except for these Psionic Traps, which is giving them a little bit of vision here and there, it is pretty much completely dark. Bottom lane, it is going to not last long to the focus fire of Pycat and MVP. Can they get any sort of damage trade here at all? Barely any damage to anything right now, as 4 Clovers, they can just keep going and force MVP back the hard way, or hope that Roshan is going to respond soon. Unfortunately for 4 Clovers, a little bit on the longer side of that respawn timer.
Yeah, so they won't be able to do that, but Bambo's giving chase to Dubu. He's trying to charge away. The Crush is going to come out in time. Do they have the backup? Not available yet. Looking for a TP. They have vision.
Crush?
No. Okay, so Pycat has blinked himself into the tree, so he wasn't actually able to be there to help with that Spirit Breaker pickup. But that doesn't really... No, it's not going to be too bad for 4 Clovers if they don't get that pick. If that's MVP missing a kill, that means a lot for them because they need anything that's available to them.
Yeah, it's like if that happens to MVP, it's a mistake, and if it happens to 4 Clovers, it's mercy. Because that's kind of what MVP need right now, just a little bit of mercy on some of their heroes. Maybe like a Blink Doom or something like that, shut down Pycat before he gets any damage off. And these are possibilities that MVP can go for, but I don't think they're really going to get that much time to do it, especially once Sags comes up with a Night Stalker. Then the map is just going to be impossible for MVP to farm. I feel like this is their critical mass. This is their time. They will not know exactly when Roshan is going to respawn. Sentry Ward did get rid of that Psionic Trap in the pit, but honestly, like their items will make them stronger. Of course, they always will, but they have the Orchid, they have the Desolator. Where 4 Clovers don't have the Aegis, this is the best moment that MVP have. They have to contest Roshan, and they have to take, at the very worst, an even fight.
Forcing that engagement is going to be very difficult. On the Courier, just a couple of wards for the Spirit Breaker. They're still very much bottled up on their side of the map, as Bambo's made himself a living ward inside the pit. MVP. They're just not able to do anything, even though that's kind of what they need to. Relative to the enemy team, it's not going to get much better for them, but they're just forced to play a little bit more passively. There is nothing available to see on the map. They catch a glimpse of the Darkseer in mid, but only a brief one.
Again, luckily for them, they're getting a little bit of time to get a little bit of farm while the 4 Clover side are just chilling and waiting for Roche, but it is going to be Aghanim Scepter Night Stalker up. He has level 2 Darkness, and it is going to be regular nighttime soon enough. MVP, they're circling it. They kind of have to go for it. Like, I don't think even with these items that they could win when win a fight when 4 Clovers have the Aegis and are barreling down into these tier 2s. Like, do they even want to try to defend their tier 2s at that point? I don't think that's really in their best interests.
Do you think their high ground defense is good enough? Or what's the dream high ground defense that will allow them to turn the engagement?
EGM messes up, walks up the high ground, dies. Everyone else on 4 Clovers suffer minor aneurysms, also can't react in time. Like, there is no real high ground defense from MVP. They have Macro Pyre and Dual Breath to, like, stall for a wave, but that is a very not sustained strategy, especially when
Bambo coming in hot, double crush, catches out Dupu and Kyo. He's a little bit far out ahead, no power shot, almost enough to kill off the Spirit Breaker, trying to charge away. The Urn and the Void, that'll be lethal as Kyo is focus fired down. Pycat's 12-0 and 9. This is ridiculous. As 4 Clovers don't really commit that hard for it either. MP going to bump into Nikwa, but a blink out by the Queen of Pain. She's going to be just fine. As 4 Clovers, it's just time for them to go for objectives, and they can. Barreling down the mid lane, they can go ahead and take out this tier 2. Just a matter of seconds. Still 3,000 gold not invested for the Wind Ranger.
Pretty standard Bambo move. Just walk out ahead of the rest of your team, find a couple heroes, get the picks, and this time not taking any damage, not taking any deaths. Again, it comes down to how much the Slaughter, Bambo, is locked into his team, and it seems like he is on point right now. He's going to test MP, but I don't think he can die to this Queen of Pain, so you might as well see how much damage you can do.
Yeah, he's going to drop the crush. I don't think he gets the skill silenced up. MP's going to fight against this. If it was an unlucky bash, maybe, just maybe. But no. Oh, well, all that's happening. 4CNL been pushing out the mid lane. They'll take out this tier 2, and now are ready for the high ground push. As you kind of alluded to earlier, the macro power can't delay this, but it's not going to delay enough because the siege creep's going to tank that like a boss and healed up by EGM. They'll still have backdoor protection for a little while longer as Pycat's just going to tank through it. MVP, they just can't make a move. Half damage on the tier 3 tower already as 4CNL really aren't committing all that hard.
And EGM kind of on the high ground a little bit offensively. I think that's pretty much the best chance that MVP have on making a play. Try to just instantly give the Dazzle, Blink, Meld, hit Sonic Wave. I mean, obviously
Queen of Paint's not here. And
oh, well,
yeah.
it's kind of hard to use that tool when Queen of Paint isn't there, but I mean, that's really the only chance they have. Either that or take EGM out of the fight and then take it from there. Also, not lose Dubu.
Focus Fire and Dubu's obliterated. Blink away by Pycat. Blink in, vacuum in the wall. Going to be dropped onto 3. The follow-up isn't all that great, but they're just going to start focusing down these racks. With the wall down on the deck, MVP really can't chase very hard. Can they get Nikwa at the very least? Blink up to the high ground. Pycat's going to get doomed. He does have the Agency Immortal. Can they even burn that first life of the Wind Ranger? They'll throw a slow as Sax is in the middle of the fray. They just don't have the damage. Oh, rushing in. They'll bring down the Templar Assassin. Pycat has his Daedalus delivered. Buyback from the TA. This is the last stand from MVP. We're very near close to it. He was in the middle of the fray. Isn't going to get CC'd. Pycat chasing forward for the Queen of Pain. Oh, power shot? No, not going to throw that out yet. Charging through. Dubu has the Nether Strike.
It's not going to happen. This Night Stalker's getting graved up right now, and they're just completely surrounded only on Bambo, but he's not taking any damage either. They'll drop the Queen of Pain. Now they're going to jump forward for 4Ev right now. He's amped up. He's taking so much damage from this Daedalus, and they'll die. Great charge to do. Great Sonic Wave as well. They'll drop a couple of heroes, but at this point, they've already spent like way too many buybacks. If you can make this matter, that's an Aegis, and only really a 1 death from the 4 Clover side. Pycat is going to pop right back up. Focus Fire won't really do a ton to blink out from the Queen of Pain, but how many buybacks were actually spent there for the MVP side? If it's more than 1, it's way too many already, and they might actually not lose some other heroes as 4 Clovers are retreating. That was... They got something, but it was not enough to justify what they lost, especially in regards to those buybacks. Especially if they lose more right now, quickly go to MVP, and he'll just get obliterated. Dubu can't even charge in time. Vacuum back, Shackle Shot onto Reason. The Jakira will definitely die. Dubu's completely swarmed with heroes. It'll be a full 5-man wipe if all said and done. Double kill beyond Godlike Spree on Pycat. There's no coming back from this, man.
No,
it's over.
No. 4 Clovers were just styling all over MVP. Pycat 17-0-10. This Wind Ranger performance has been on point. Across the board, 4 Clovers have been looking great, and GG will be called as the first game goes to 4 Clovers.
MVP not really doing it. Desolator Dazzle, huge win rates from EGM. Yeah, MVP didn't really get a chance to do that much. They were always supposed to be on the aggressive, but when your Templar Assassin, when QO in particular, gets shut down, you're pretty much screwed. It does feel like 4 Clovers, that was a game that was won not really because of insane team plays or anything like that, just because all their lanes went so well, and the game kind of just won itself from there.
It's so hard to come back after all of your lanes go so poorly, especially QO.
The new high-performance Rig 500 headset from Plantronics is designed to match the skills of an aspiring esport player with the gear they need to win the needs of esports and competitive players around the world. The new Rig 500 series of headsets from Plantronics.
Selecting MVP Phoenix as their opponent, because that was a thrashing game 1.
Didn't look like as risky of a pick as we thought it was, taking MVP there. It's pretty much, as you mentioned, I mean, Winter was talking about how important the lanes were, and it feels like 4CL won every single lane.
All right, so there was a very risky moment in that game. Winter, take us through that team fight around the Roshan pit. Or not Roshan pit, the Ancient.
Ancient stack, yeah.
But they had the right idea because they crushed the lane, and they understood that for MVP to come back into the game, they had to clear the Ancients, they had to stack for Kyo. Because somehow Kyo, he got solo killed the first time, and then he died another time from the Night Stalker ganking me, so he had a terrible early game. It was something that I didn't really expect to happen. I thought the game would be quite okay for him against Windrunner, but I think he just got outplayed by Pycat, and so 4CL understood that the next point of contention for the TA would be stacking Ancients and to try to come back into the game. But they were a little too greedy because their lineup wasn't very well equipped at clearing the Ancient stacks. I mean, you can place observer wards and depending on situation make a smoke play, but trying to, I think they killed like maybe one hero and then they proceeded to try and kill the Ancients, but they took so long, the hero respawned and they just took the fight. Queen of Pain didn't have Sonic Wave, they didn't have Doom, but they still won the fight because they were in a very precarious position. They were not at full HP and full mana, and MVP just crushed the fight. I think they killed 3 heroes. That was the moment where I thought, oh, 4CL actually made a really bad mistake that allowed MVP a breathing room in the game. And usually with 4CL, when they have a lead in the games, even during the group stages, they tend to make mistakes like that.
Yeah, I think that's where MVP, they just generally draft team fight supports. We saw the Jakiro landing a 5-man dual breath, did all his stuff, and that was where really a team fight turned.
That wasn't even him playing super well. It was because 4CL were greedy, like Seth mentioned when we were talking. Oh, they were staying so long, Jakiro just ran up, casually ran up, got a 5-man dual breath, won the fight.
Yep, so we just saw the first split that Pycat got solo against Kyo, which I don't think a lot of us were expecting. But after this point, I think Wind Ranger just got too big after the laning phase. He got such a big early game.
And the first rotation from Queen, as we saw, was not successful.
First rotation here against the top lane. Sexy Bamboo very calm, knowing that he has the dazzle. And the mid lane fight wasn't really favoring the MVP squad, simply because the Wind Ranger was so big. I don't think she died the whole game, right?
No. Beyond Godlike, it's like 14-0. Pycat played really well. Yeah, the first Queen of Pain rotation was a little unfortunate because they had vision by the small camp. So maybe MP figured that he was safe to dive that, but the wave was a little far forward. He didn't see the 2 heroes behind Sexy Bamboo and just fed over there. Another play that me and Lumi were talking about was mid lane. Pycat had the Aegis and they had already taken a 1 hero advantage, so it was 5-on-4. But 4F held onto his Doom. They're showing it here actually. So 4F holds on to his Doom. They're able to run out, pop the haste. He doesn't dispel the haste with the Doom. They re-engage and 4CL ends up taking the fight handily.
Yeah, I understand holding on to the Doom because Windrunner still had Aegis.
Yeah.
But Doom purges the haste ring, right? I think you just Doom her there, get rid of the haste, maybe get rid of the Aegis, and the team fight gets better. But trying to run against this lineup.
Maybe that would have been better, but overall I think the main reason why all of this engagements were so tough for them to take because they were so far behind from laning phase. So they had to do this, they had to do that. There were just so many things they needed to do in the team.
So for you, Winter, strategically, MVP didn't really lose out in the draft, right? It's just the execution in the laning phase.
I think both teams were very geared into early game dominance. They want to win their lanes. They have supports that will help them secure lanes. And even though TA died first time, after that he still didn't really receive help from his team. I thought they would actually try to give her more help, maybe send more support for him, but they didn't really even help her. No one TP'd from the second game when the Night Stalker rotated middle. So I'm not sure though. I thought they had to prioritize more on protecting Kyo in that game after the solo kill.
Do you think their supports are good enough for helping on the mid lane?
Maybe not so much too, because they're Jakiro.
I guess Bane could charge mid, but you don't expect to get a kill from not Bane, the Spirit Breaker. Yeah.
Well, the only time that they ended up charging mid was into the Night Stalker, and the Night Stalker, being as tanky as he is, just turned with the Void, and then Pycat rotated in and killed off the Spirit Breaker. So the whole early game, the only kill that the Spirit Breaker got for MVP was that Darkseer kill bottom very early.
I think something that you touched on in the beginning of the game, Winter, was that Spirit Breaker, on the support position, is just not as good as Tusk. I think Tusk maybe could have made a lot better plays.
Yeah, but it's their comfort hero, I understand.
That's true.
Not every team can play Tusk to the level where, this is first pick for our team. So they went for a comfort pick, and I felt like 4CL responded very well. Usually against SB support, you want to have a mid laner that can have an escape ability so you don't get ganked easily.
Not died to just a random charge in a patch.
Like Wind Ranger is like one of a very good hero. Like apart from Invoker, Windrunner is a really good hero in the mid lane against SV because of Windrun and Shackle.
So as you guys see on the on-screen graphic, now 4CL is 3-0 against MVP Phoenix. As a player, as a viewer, I mean, how do you feel that MVP is gonna? Does that affect them mentally? You lost 3 in a row against this team.
Well, I think MVP, just like 4CL, kind of came off the group stage with momentum. They went in to their last 2 series with their fate in their own hands. It was them, NLG, and Complexity to try and make it through. And MVP was able to take a game off Empire, which a lot of teams weren't able to do, and they also 2-0'd their series before that. So I feel like, to some extent, MVP were coming into this confident. Then on the other hand, you have 4CL who won 4 BO3s straight, all 2-0, and won a 2-0 in D2CL in between the group stage and now. So I think MVP is a team that can definitely bounce back, but it feels like 4CL read them pretty well here.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they made very, very big mistakes in this game. I felt like just the lanes, like the one solo kill and then the kill after, it made it really hard for them to run their strategy smoothly because they had to win, maybe not win, but they had to have a decent or good laning phase. I'm not expecting the TA obviously to solo kill the Windrunner. So I'm just saying that if the laning phase were to go a little better, their lineup would show much more strength and overall stability. But because they totally lost the mid lane, and Darkseer against Queen, I mean, he did okay. And top lane as well, they were actually also doing really well. So basically, they won all their lanes because the mid lane got demolished, and they had to, later into the game, they had to help the TA, and every lane like just didn't get support.
Yep, so coming into game 2, I think we expect pretty much the same thing, same play style, maybe not the same result, because like you said, if the laning stage went a lot better, I'm just completely surprised. Looking at the end of draft, you don't expect Doom, TA, and Queen of Pain to lose every single lane.
Yeah.
So I think if we play this game again, I think MVP will do much, much better.
It's just one of those games where sometimes you get unlucky or someone just makes a small mistake in a lane, but the result of the small mistake has so much implication into the game when you have a lineup like this.
Yeah.
Like after that, it was just so difficult. They didn't even make any big mistakes after that. It was just very, very hard for them to play after that.
Yeah, I mean, Spirit Breaker, Queen of Pain, TA are all pretty much textbook snowball heroes.
To win the lane, you have to win your lane.
Yeah.
You would make the argument that actually after the laning stage, 4CL play worse than MVP.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, they have a lot of room for mistake, right?
Yeah, that's true. And one thing that we didn't touch on about the draft was that you have Slaughter and Windrunner on the other side. After that start, you just give the Windrunner ages every time, and there's no way you lose any fight. And that's what we saw, you know. 4CL just kind of crushed MVP after 15 minutes into the game.
EGM played really well on his Dazzle too. He was behind pretty much every target that was in danger of dying, and his Graves were really good. Not that he didn't have good situations for it. As you mentioned, they were so far ahead that it was almost impossible for them to kill Pycat even without him. But EGM did play well on the Dazzle as well. And it's just a good pick up against what MVP had.
Yep. He did play very well, but I felt like overall both teams have probably the lineups that they want to have.
Right.
It's just that the execution and small little things that didn't go so well for them. But it was very important for them to get it done perfect. Maybe not perfectly, but better if you are running this sort of early game strat. All your first few rotations on the Queen of Pain, like it's very similar to a Gyrocopter first rotation, but the difference is the cooldown. When you miss a rotation like this on Queen, it's a 120-second cooldown.
Yeah.
Like Gyrocopter is like, okay, whatever, 1 minute.
Yeah.
But overall, I felt like it was not only the first Queen of Pain rotation, it was also obviously the 2 kills that TA gave up on Wind Ranger.
Yeah, nine times out of 10 you don't see QO lose that hard in the mid lane, but this was that one game.
Oh, that was game 1 in the books. Game 2 is coming up after a short break. And when production want to go into the break, we are ready. Of course, here at the Stadium Live. Let's go to the break in 9 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Stadium Live, DreamHack Moscow.
DreamHack sponsors. Let's go.